I walk in the house, I look at the dogs, or jump over me, and I go, I have never been happier to see you in my entire life. So I drove like 9 miles past their house and I didn't even know it. So, but then a couple other local people that were at the Thanksgiving yesterday go, oh yeah, got lost too. And that made me feel like such a nincompoop. But, you know, stuff happens. Okay, well, as you might see, I'm at Vanessa's house, so I'm in like a closet right now, and I don't have a second camera, so I'm not going to be able to show you key presses today. However, I got up this morning at 4:30 and made you guys a handout, so I'm going to put that in the chat right now, and then we'll have a little chat about what I made for you today. Oh, and Kelly, you'll be very happy to know.
Yes.
I have exercised my free rights as a Black Friday participant, and I bought myself a new tablet, but I bought it's like you put on top of it and it's supposed to make it like paper so that people can actually read my handwriting. Because I want to start using a tablet instead of a second camera overhead. It's like 10,000 times easier. Notes and show you guys. But every time I go to pick a tablet, I hear Kelly go, "Hey, Joe, I can't read your handwriting."
I don't know that it's the device that's the problem.
I look like an old white guy. Okay.
I don't think a device is going to help you. It's really all in your hand.
Well, come on. I'm trying to help out the economy here, okay? Well, lady, the session. I'm doing my part as an American. Anyway, I'm hoping that the paper stuff, I mean, my handwriting is my handwriting, love it or leave it. But I'm hoping that the paper stuff you put, it's like you're supposed to be able to write on it like it's paper. They're writing on it like it's glass.
Interesting.
And that's kind of my big problem, one of them. So, okay, did you guys get that handout in the chat?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I hate teaching this way. That's off of a handout, but I'm kind of limited with resources today. So we'll just kind of cover and fill in the blanks with some of the stuff. This is pretty classic desert pencil to start with. So really where you start, or what I start, the internal rate of return discussion is the way I start all the discussions about money and investing in the future. And that is to ask and answer the pretty simple but not easy question, what are you trying to do? Okay. And I mean, all the years I've been doing this and all the people I've talked to and all the classes I've taught, when I sit down and talk to people and like, don't let people get away with the, I don't know. It's a very difficult question for people to answer. It very much is. And so I borrowed from a Charles Schwab book I read like 35 years ago, probably, and kind of adapted my own thing to it, the notion of life stage investing. Okay. And I know some of you have adult children. So the first box is 25 to 40. The next box is like 40. And these are ish, not hard numbers, but we'll just say 40 to 60 and then 60 plus. When you are in that 25 to 40 box, you should be investing for aggressive growth because you have enough time left in your future life to make up for mistakes. And that's really what it is how much time do you have left if you screw up or the market blows up or you make a bad decision or whatever it is. The second box is what I call the combination, which is I teach IRR as the combination, but it's the combination of cash flow and appreciation. Okay, so I think in that sort of middle age area, we shouldn't completely give up on appreciation, but we should start decreasing our risk and increasing our cash flow. Then you get to the third leg, hopefully you're investing for cash flow. Okay, that's the basic idea. Now, I'm going to stop here for just a second and just kind of, what do you Apple people call it? A drop pin to put a location? Is that what you call it on your phone? A pin drop. That's what it is. I use an Android phone, so I don't have that. But anyway, I've been doing some homework about the Social Security conundrum. And I'm not quite ready to report yet because I don't completely have all the tax part of it resolved. But right now, if they don't do something, Social Security is going to go broke in 7 years. We saw Schweiker talk about that, and it's coming. It's math. You just can't deny it. So if you're waiting, if you're over 62 and waiting to take your Social Security, you might want to think about jumping on it. One of the things that I still need to do and was going to do this week and didn't do yet was do the time value of money increments year to year to year. I mean, you've seen the report from Social Security Administration. If you start at this age, you get this much. This age, you get this much, and so on and so forth. You guys have all seen that, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have not gotten that yet, get a hold of Social Security and get that. But I was talking to my CPA a couple days ago, a friend of mine who's a CPA, and he's an investor too. And he's a couple years older than me. He started taking his at 62. And we're talking about it. I'm like, if I can just make like 7% a year on my money, I'm way ahead. And he goes, yeah, you are. So do the math, figure it out, but start taking it. So that's just a little side note. More to report later. I just kind of wanted to report that for right now. Okay. But anyway, when you get to stage 3, you should be thinking about investing for cash flow, not so much for appreciation, and lowering your risk. Okay. Now, all of that said, do I still do some investing for appreciation? I do. I do some in the real estate stuff, some in the stock stuff, have some other things I'm involved in. So it's not like appreciation ever goes away. I just don't think you should be doing as much of it in the aggregate as you are when you're younger. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop there. Appreciation, cash flow combination. Anyone want to say anything about that stuff? Okay. The next thing that Open does it pencil with is to talk about the 5 benefits, which are appreciation, cash flow, mortgage reduction, taxes, and leverage. So when we do internal rate of return, one of the really beautiful things about it is that it allows us to capture all those benefits and reduce them into one number. Okay. Now, what I just talked about in like the last 10 minutes, if you can take what I'm saying, put your thumbprint on it and talk to your clients about it, or your husband or wife or whoever you invest with, you will move light years ahead of the competition, because most people don't know this stuff and they don't even think about it. So what IRR does in the T account is it lets us look at an asset, an investment, and basically do the one thing that we all need to do all the time, and that is make a decision. So last night when we did the Thanksgiving deal, there was a bunch of people that showed up, and I was talking to this one woman for about, 20, 30 minutes about my new blog, my new book, The Sunday Blog Volume 3, now available for purchase at Amazon. I'll tell you about that at the end here. And she just kind of randomly opened the book and picked up the part of the story about when I bought my car in February, the negotiation story, and all the little bullet points that I listed about negotiating. And it's funny, she's not in our business, but she's not dumb. And she goes, do they teach classes on negotiation? And I'm like, yes, they do. And I'm a they. So then that kind of led to another thing. And I said, but most of what I teach is this investment stuff. And it's called Does It Pencil? I'll show you the website and all that. She goes, huh. So then she goes, so what is it you really teach people how to do? And I didn't have to think about it long. And I called her and go, I teach people how to make decisions. I teach people how to take, different data sets and pieces of information and use pretty simple financial tools to understand what things really mean. And right now I'm in the Columbia River Gorge. I'm in Washington, but across the river from Hood River. And when I lived here, I lived in the poor part down below, and she lived in the rich part up above. And her ex-husband built this fat house on this cliff. I mean, it is magnificent. It's super cool. and it looks straight down the throat of the gorge. I mean, fantastic. And they broke up, and so he got the house. He's been trying to sell the house for God, probably like 5 or 6 years. And finally, seller, he's just like, I don't even care if I make a profit. I just want out. So we were talking about that. And I told her, I said, with the Desert Pencil tools, I could sit down after asking some questions and tell you exactly what his rate of return is. That's kind of what the Desert Pencil philosophy is. And she goes, oh, so you could tell me if he's screwed? And I go, yeah, pretty much. And she goes, I'm hiring you. I said, well, okay, whatever. But the point is, you look at all these benefits, okay, depreciation, cash flow, taxes, mortgage, and leverage, and you think about these things and they become more a part of your awareness and hopefully your decision making. And then you apply IRR to them. And what IRR does is it reduces everything to a one number answer. And that's pretty magical. When you can take all these things floating around and you can look at a piece of property or, a stock investment or another opportunity. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. And that's the thing about the IRR model. It doesn't matter what you're looking at investing in because all it cares about is three things. I know I talked about the benefits, but the three things are the beginning, the middle, and the end. Okay. And of all the things that I've learned in 35 years of doing this, that's probably the most important mindset that we can all have is the beginning, the middle, and the end. And everybody here is a real estate person, and we all know that. So if you sell primary houses for a living, what most people are thinking about is the beginning. Can I even get in the damn house? Can I afford it? Right? And they kind of touch a little bit on the middle part. That's the can I afford it part, and that's the financing piece and so forth. But the end is what's it worth in the future? Okay. So when we were just in the thick of the COVID time, everybody's like, oh my God, look at my house. It's going up 20% a year. We have no clue that it's completely artificially inflated by the Fed and they don't care. And that's fine. But now they're sitting on it going, well, how come? See, I mean, you guys know this deal all the time. Sellers are like, well, what do you mean it hasn't gone up 20% in the last 5 minutes? It's real estate. Right. But so that's the end part, the exit strategy. And so what's happening right now is kind of sociopolitically in the real estate space. And let's just say Seattle for sure, Chicago, probably, yeah, certain parts of New York. I'm fairly in touch with the New York market as well. But if you take those three big metro cities, what they're now starting to see is, and there was a big spread this morning about Chicago because the mayor wants to increase the property taxes. People are pissed. Okay. They're up. I mean, I saw that. I don't know if this is true or not, but up to 127% increase in property tax, which if I hear that, I go, yeah, well, their $600,000 house has been assessed at $100,000 for the last 15 years, and finally the assessor caught up. That's probably what happened. I mean, they didn't increase the millage rate that much, but nonetheless, all of a sudden, you have this new tax. And the reason that the government is imposing it is to try to close the gap on budget deficits. Now, I'm not here to argue the merits of social policy. I mean, you can read my last week's book. It's very good, by the way. It's called Laffer, the Left, and the Math. But my point being, here you've got a lot of people right now sitting on, appreciated real estate values, and that they feel appreciation rich, but now they're more cash flow poor because you got to pay the tax. Okay. And it's been interesting for me because I've been kind of waiting for this to show up. I mean, I knew it was coming, but now that lag effect of 1 to 2 years is finally catching up. And people that run the governments are going, oh, well, here's a source of revenue. We can just tax the real estate more. So we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. I knew it's just a sugar high, clickbait news story. I think it's a little more than that in Chicago. But another real problem right now, two cities in the Northwest, um, Portland and Seattle. Okay, not so much Boise. Right now in downtown Seattle, they have a 33% vacancy rate in office space. That's astonishing. I mean, I've been in commercial real estate since 87, almost 40 years. I have never, ever, anywhere heard of a major city's vacancy rate being that high. It's astonishing. Now, part of it has to do with COVID, and we know that. But at least in the case of Seattle, a couple of years ago, the city tried to levy a $275 a head tax on large employers. Amazon took 10,000 people, moved them 15 minutes away to Bellevue, said, we're not paying it. Okay. I mean, I don't know which city father didn't figure that one was coming. And of course, now we're putting high-speed rail between the two cities, so that 15 minutes will become 5 minutes. There's a paradox for you. But we're right now seeing in the landscape of budgets and cities and counties big chasms, big ones, and so these city officials are going, well, how can we close the gap? And so real estate taxation is just one possibility. All right. So we'll see what happens in the future. Anyway, so what the IRR model does is allows us to look at the appreciation, the cash flow, the combination of it. It looks at it over a time horizon. This is a really important feature about internal rate of return and the model that you use, because it's not an open-ended model, unlike other models that we use. It's a closed-ended model. And so the really important part of that is you have to pick a value for your future value when you're at the beginning doing IRR. Okay. And we're going to do a couple of T accounts. You'll see specifically what I'm talking about here, but just for discussion right now, what I'm saying is if you're standing here at the beginning and you're like, should I buy this building? Okay. What the IRR model says is, well, you can make some assumptions, but you have to go out into the future. Most of the time when I do these things, I do them for 5 years. And so one of the things you have to contemplate is what's your appreciation going to be? Okay. And that will have the most effect on the overall internal rate of return, especially if you have a longer time increment. Okay. The appreciation is huge. It's huge. Okay. So be careful about the assumptions that you make when you're anticipating future appreciation. And we've talked about this before on this call. And I think right now, most people would contemplate, depending on where they are geographically, somewhere between about 2 and 7%. I use 3. Okay. But 2 to 7 seems pretty reasonable. There's a lot of people in this business right now on the real estate side who didn't get in until after the 08, 010 years. They weren't around 15 years ago. They don't know what short sales are. They don't know what a catastrophe for a lot of people, a real estate crash can be. All they know is, well, it's real estate. It goes like this. It might go like that a little bit. Mostly it goes like this. The Fed's dropped interest rates. We've gone from a 30-year to a 10-year T-bill. There's been a lot of propping up, which has helped the market in general. And the other thing that's helped is, again, back to the governments, is the lack of permits. The hardest thing to do, and I've done land development for a long time. If you're going to go build anything, the thing that takes all the time is the horizontal development. The vertical development, you can build a house in 90 days. It's all the stuff to get it ready. I mean, the one little dumb lot that we made in Lakewood, it took almost a year.
Yeah.
To make one lot. And we didn't even put a shovel in the ground. That's just the paperwork. That's all that is. All right. And that's why you should get more at the end, because that's taking more risk. But if you can do it and be successful at it, you've got something that's worth something. Okay. Anyway, don't want to get into land stuff today. So just to kind of wrap up so far, internal rate of return, beginning, middle, end. It captures all the benefits. And we use this tool really for one purpose, and that is to make a decision. Okay. I'm going to just say one more thing about decisions, and we'll take a look at the handout. I probably cannot emphasize enough the importance of when I say this decision thing. And I think about this a lot, and I observe the world and talk to people and just kind of do all the things that I do. It's kind of amazing how much of human life is consumed in little ways, big ways, conscious ways, subconscious ways. I mean, we are all making decisions all day long. It's just what humans do. But you guys who work in the real estate space, what you're doing is helping people make one of the two biggest decisions they'll ever make in their entire lives. And they're going to have to live with it for a long time. And in the investment space, it's a lot different than doing stock investing, right? It takes a lot longer to get in and a lot longer to get out. It's a very complicated process, which is good and bad. But, you look at other kinds of investments, just to be raw about the generic term investment, real estate's a lot more complicated, a lot more costly to buy and sell. Okay. But it's all in service of making a decision. So this idea of decision making and the role that you guys play with your clients is making decisions. I mean, if you're looking for your marketing blabber about value add, to me, that's the top thing. It's the top thing. Help people make decisions. That's what you guys do. And it's hugely important. Hugely. I want to ask if there's any questions. We didn't want to say anything before we go to the handout. Okay, let's go to the handout. And let's go to second page of the handout. I'll put my screen up here. Okay, so what I did this morning was I made 3 T accounts, and I did my best over here on the right-hand side to show you the key presses. And I just took a very simple T and just ran a couple of different scenarios. This won't take very long. So when you're doing internal rate of return, and these are the HV10B2 key presses, but it's the same if you're doing Excel or anything else, you have to be in one payment per year. That's very critical. So this is one, and then the gold key payment. Okay, that's what goes on top. Hold on one second. Oh, there we go. Okay. After that, you press gold key clear all. Okay. So this is what sets the calculator and puts it in the desired one payment per year. Then if you're on the 10B2 in was it the middle row? Yeah, the second row in the middle, there's a key that says CST, and below it says IRR/YR. You tap that one and you go into a separate menu. And we've done this before when I've had 2 cameras. And then what you do is in the top box, you type in 100,000 and then tap plus or minus. Okay, now let me just say this and make it clear and be very obtuse about what I'm going to say next. When you do internal rate of return, sign convention matters. You have to keep positives positive, negatives negative. The biggest mistake that new people make when they're doing internal rate of return is they forget to make the value in the beginning, the first one, which is at a place called time period 0, they forget to make that one negative. Okay, so the calculator, the computer, whatever device you're using, when you go into IRR mode, it's already designed to contemplate inflows and outflows. And in the if-then part of computer programming and chip design, if you have 2 positive numbers at the beginning, at the end, it'll tell you it's invalid or there's no solution, because you have to have a negative and a positive. It knows that. Okay. And I just wouldn't, again, new people, they make the mistake of, oh, you didn't make your beginning one negative. It happens all the time with new people. Okay. So this happens here in the T account at this first increment, which in the left-hand side, you see T for time, CF for cash flow. This is called 0. Okay. So in this one, at a place called time period 0, it's negative 100,000. Okay. Now let me take a minute and talk about this 0, 1, 2, 3 business. When we work in internal rate of return, when we work in net present value, when we work in modified internal rate of return or financial management rate of return, or all these different sort of advanced modalities, the first time increment is recognized with the number 0. And 0 in real estate is synonymous with escrow. It's when they take title. It's sort of like it's the time moment when things begin. So at time period 0, you want to make a note of this. What I say is it's all the cash that you paid to acquire title. Okay. Now it's not the price unless you paid all cash. And that's the thing about these T accounts is that they are cash models, not price models. As we go through the T account, we're looking at it as the cash flows and not just the price unless you paid all cash. Okay. So the first one is the flow at time period 0. And from the investor's perspective, that one's going to be negative because it's money you paid out. Now, if we go back to this first T account, what I said is when you bought the thing, you paid out $100,000. So to use simple numbers, if this was a house and you had a 20% down payment, this would be your down payment. Okay. The house is still 500,000, but you only paid out 100 grand. You're recognizing the cash flows. Then you're saying in time period 1, you received a positive 5,000. That would be year 1. We call it time periods in the model, but this is 12 months of operations. And then the second 12 months of operations in time period 2, we got 5,000. Okay. Now in time period 3, and these are all, I have 3-year models here. I have 125,000. Let me talk about this number right here just for a second. Whatever the sum total number is in your last time period. When we do an IRR for real estate, the 5,000, and then whatever it is in year 3, those come from the APOD. And that's the pre-tax cash flow of a property. That's what goes in the IRR. If you're doing one from a stock, it would be like a dividend that you received. Okay. So in time period 1, time period 2, and all subsequent time periods, those are you recognizing whatever cash flows the asset is throwing at you. But in your last year, and I just use 3 years because it's faster and easier. So we assumed a 3-year hold. That one is going to be the combination of your sales proceeds and your cash flows for that year. So whatever your last year of projected or actual ownership is, you must add together cash flows and sales proceeds because they both occur in the same year. Okay. So if I was going to sell a building today, the last year would be whatever the escrow sales proceeds were today, plus all the cash flows that the owner seller received for the first 11 and a half months of operations. Similarly, if I was doing one for a buyer for the first year of ownership, they would only recognize like 6 weeks of cash flows from operations because they would own it from the middle of November until the end of the year, December 31st. Okay. Which If we just stop and think about that for a minute, all of us that are over 60, my God, can you believe it was just Thanksgiving and Christmas is like in 20 minutes and then the year is over? What the hell happened? I mean, even people in their 30s were telling me yesterday, oh, wow, where does time go? I go, yeah, wait till you're twice your age. Then it really gets bad, you know? So anyway, phenomenon. Okay. So when I do all that hocus pocus and I fill up my T account, oops, don't want that one. Cancel. Sorry. Share. When I solve for internal return, I get 131.82%. Okay. So what does that mean? That is the overall annualized return from beginning to middle to end. Now, some people might say, well, do you take that 131.62 and divide it by, or 0.82 and divide it by 3? No, you do not. Because you can see most of it comes at the end here. Okay. This is where you would recognize your appreciation, hopefully repayment of your initial cash out, and then we would net any sales costs and so forth. So it's not like you got, 35,000 a year, 40,000 a year every year. You got this, and you got this, and you got the big pop. And that's the thing about IRR models is that the last year, this is always the big one. Okay. It's always going to be the last year. So again, I say what you factor in for appreciation really makes a lot of difference. Okay. Now, if you solve for IRR and you get to the end and it goes negative, like at a negative IRR, you're thinking, oh my God, did I do this wrong? No. If you get an actual number, but it's negative, what it means is you had no return of investment. So what that would mean, if my IRR is negative in this example here, what it would mean is I didn't get my 100 grand back. It's like if this was negative 5,000, negative 5,000, and 100,000, this number would have been negative. That's what a negative IRR is. Okay. Now I'll show you.
Hold on. Can I ask a quick question about that? Just so my brain is comprehending this
We're
correctly.
here for your brain,
It's set-
Christine. That's why we're here.
So it's showing 131%, but you're just getting your $100,000 back that you already invested.
You just figured out, Christine? I was wrong.
But
I just looked at my calculator. I breached the cardinal sin of IRR. I fucked up. Here's why. I didn't set for one payment per year because it was 4:30 this morning. Let me do it again. Sorry about that.
Right on, Christine.
Way to
I
go.
just my brain was looking at that going,
my
how is $25,000 or 131%? I just could not.
Right.
Okay. Thank God. Thank you.
You're
I'm
right.
not completely blonde.
No, you are. You guys didn't know this, but next week Christine will be teaching the Does It Pencil webinar.
And the best part is that she's not afraid to step up and say, hey, this doesn't make sense.
Awesome. And I'm going to start drinking again as soon as we're done. So thanks for that, Christine. Okay. The real answer, the right answer, no, that's not right. One more zero here. Okay, boom. The right answer is 10.99%. Almost 11%. You were right, Christine, and I was wrong. Sure, I'll put this in the chat real quick, just so you guys can all feel better.
Because it's the first time in history that is great.
Oh, you're right. See, now you've got a record. I was wrong. Which of course means the other ones are wrong too, so I'll just do them again real quick. Okay, so it's actually 11%. But getting back to what I said earlier, I think in using IRR, what we need to remember about the application of the IRR tool is we use it to make a decision. Okay. And a decision is a yes or a no. Am I going to do this or am I not? And I've talked about this next thing before, and I always talk about it at the beginning of Desert Pencil, but it's the whole expectation thing. Okay. So I bought some stocks last week, and I bought a couple of sectors. I bought one sector that I think is really smart. I hope talk about that maybe towards the end here. But I also bought an exchange traded fund that's paying almost a 38% dividend, which is huge. Right. Now, why did I buy that? Because it's hard to find more than like 7 to 10%. So when I find something that's 38%, there's some risk to it. Not going to lie about that. But that's 3 times the expectation. So I'm like, hell yeah, I want a scoop of that. I didn't put all my money into it, but I bought some. We'll see how it goes. If it goes better, maybe I'll buy another scoop. I don't know. But for now, that was good. Okay. And it was all about expectations. Because I do this enough every day, I know that, and I said this before, if you just go out and just put your money in money market, you can get about 3.8, 3.9. You can invest in hard money, you can make about 7 to 8. Okay. This is cash flow. This is recurrence. This is not appreciation. This is cash flow. Okay. To get north of that, you're taking on more risk for sure. Real estate, super hard to get that with new purchase money under $1 million. We've talked about that a lot of times on this call. So when something comes across my desk, it's like, well, here's 38, and yeah, it's risky, but it's pretty consistent. I'm like, tell me more. And it was, so I bought some, and that's why. Okay. So with my little example here that I'm so humbled by Christine to correct me on, the question is 11% good enough? And good enough is measured as an expectation against what else is out there. If everything else is doing, 3, 4, 5%, and you bring me something and go, well, I'll double what the market is, that's pretty damn good, right? And you stop there. I think that's the really important thing. Okay. Because some investors and some clients are just like, oh, fill me up. I want one more. I'm an addict. Well, that's not a good way to invest. It's not. Okay. Believe me, I know. Make a decision, be good with it, move forward. And the thing about the T account is when we go back and look at it, what we're doing here in the T account is in this part here, we're populating it to get to our pre-tax cash flow with all of our assumptions about rent, vacancy, unexpected things, contingencies, all that stuff is in the middle part here. And we make an assumption at the end about what we think it'll appreciate for. So the number that you get, not 131.82, but actually 10.99, is a function of the quality of the data that you put inside. Okay. All right. In Desert Pencil course 4, the old course 4, which will be new, and I'll talk about that before the end of the year, what the new one's going to be. But I will also talk about in the advanced course, these other T account methodologies of measurement called modified internal rate of return and financial management rate of return. I'm not going to do that today, but what those do is they don't assume that in this case, I could reinvest at 11% to get my 11%. They don't. They do it differently. They do it in a more controlled way, which is more accurate. But my argument is, look, you're just trying to help people decide, should I buy this thing or not, or should I sell it or not? That's a human decision. It's weighed against an expectation. Here's the answer. What do you want to do? Let them do it. Okay. Let's go to the middle one, which I also calculated incorrectly, but I will recalculate right now. So what happens if I zero out the two middle ones and I'm actually losing? No, actually, I'm not losing $10,000. I'm saying instead of getting it in the middle, I was to get it at the end. What would that answer be? So this one here would be 10.52 if you want to make a little notation, cross out my incorrect math there. Okay, so it's a little bit lower than this one would be. It's about 60 basis points lower than the first one. Why? Because if you look at what you're getting here between time periods 1 and 3, you're getting 135,000, okay? But in this model, you don't get it until the end. Here, you get bits and pieces of it sooner. That's why your rate of return is higher in this one than it is in the second one. That's the only difference, okay? And then I built this one here just to show the difference. I had a negative cash flow at time period 1, and then a positive at time period 2, and then the same original value at time period 3. And so that IRR would end up being 9.13%. And what drags it down, so remember, this one was 11 something, the first one. Now we're getting into the 9s in the third one. Why is that? Well, it's because here you went negative 5,000. Even though you made it up, this drug you down at the beginning because you had to work a couple more periods to get back to what was effectively zero up here. So this one gets you 9.13% if you want to cross out this incorrect math and make that a 9.13, okay? So you always do them the same way, but what you get and when you get it is really the key feature of IRR and using the T account, okay? So that's how it works. Oh, it's so much easier just to buy stuff on Amazon, don't you think? It's just, can I just buy the answer on Amazon? Okay.
So cash flow though for these now, if you look at what is the terminology for if you pay 100% cash or if you have a loan that you're figuring in payments and everything, like on my previous deal with using hard money, it would have been more beneficial for me to do that completely cash to make the money or to make more of a percentage.
Yeah.
So on on these, I can't remember what that's called. The percentage that you're going to make when we look at whether it's better to use hard money or pay 100% cash.
So that was the return on appreciation with leverage.
Okay.
That's the debt part versus paying all cash. And the reason that your example was better paying all cash is because you didn't have enough excess sale price at the end to offset the cost of carry, which was the interest and the points you paid for the loan.
And if I would have stretched that out a little bit and maybe collected rent or something, I would have made more, but
yeah. And so over time that disparity would have closed. But that was a flip deal. It's just like somebody said to me, well, when you guys buy your house in Lakewood, why didn't you just get a 5-1 ARM? Because you would have a lower interest rate. And I was like, well, I got invited to the party after the escrow, so I didn't really have a lot to say about it. But had I, that's exactly what I would have said to do. Now here's the other thing, and I'll just kind of toss this into the conversation because I think it matters. We do all this stuff and we want to be precise and concise and all that. And it's important. I'm not downplaying that. But again, I say I've been doing this long enough with enough different people. But I've just kind of come to this part of my life where I'm like, look, you're just trying to make a decision. I mean, 12 is better than 11. We all understand that. But what we're just trying to say is, should you do this or not? So I don't worry about all the little minutia anymore. Maybe it's because I'm older. I mean, I was talking to my my friend, the CPA, a couple days ago, we were talking about buying gold. He's like, yeah, I bought a couple bars of gold and I went in for like, 75,000 and I sold them at 100 and then they went to 140. And he kind of laughed about it. And sometimes that happens. You take your profit off the table and then the asset still rises. Well, that's just going to happen. Happens to everybody. A year ago, I thought, oh, we just closed escrow. We just doubled our money. No, we didn't. We just bought a vacant house for 7 months unexpectedly. And all my bitching and complaining about that for 6 months till we finally sold it. Those things happen. So what I try to do when I'm buying investments is I want to make sure I have enough buffer, enough contingency. Like there's enough profit in it that if something blows up, I'm not going to blow up. I look at that as well. I have a friend right now who's starting a new company. It's pretty interesting, actually. But he's making, we'll just call it a potion. And it's, excuse me, it's a cleaning potion. And he can produce this for about $7 a unit. And he can sell it for $200 a unit. Okay, it's got that much margin built into it. So when he does a Black Friday sale today, it's like it's half price. Does he care? Not really. Not really. Because he's still making, $93 a unit. Plus, it's a different market than you guys work in. Hopefully he's capturing a customer who will reorder. It's called a loss leader in marketing. That's what a lot of Black Friday has become. Amazon invented it. And the brilliance of Jeff Bezos is he was able to get enough debt financing so they could not make a profit for like 15 years. It was negative. Did nothing but lose money. Because talk about a long-term visionary. He's like, I don't care about that in the short term. I just want to build brand loyalty, build a brand and build customers. We'll make it up on the back end. And that's what they did. They lost money for years. I know because I used to trade their stock. So, okay. So I mentioned I was going to mention one other thing that I bought. I have been looking a lot at the AI deal and how it's affecting our world. And I think that there's a lot of different plays on this. And I think one of the plays is going to be on the energy stuff. Okay. Have you read about how much energy and how much water this AI thing takes? It's just, I mean, if you're an environmentalist, the first thing you should do is hate AI because it's like really bad for the environment. But for those of us who care about the environment, but also profiting from new technology. I'm going to say this now. I don't know everything about it, but I'm going to do some study about it. Okay. Mini nuclear. Okay.
That's the Bill Gates.
Bill Gates is already starting to do this. No big surprise.
Right.
But I think this is a thing moving forward. And we've all lived in our lifetime with, all the fluctuations in energy markets, the pollution, all the stuff, right? Well, this nuclear thing, I mean, it's like there's no carbon, but it has to be safe. And so now like in 30 whatever years since the WHIPS thing in Longview, they've figured it out, I guess. So I think this is going to be a really important sector moving forward. So I bought some of that last week too. And it's up 60% so far this year. Hopefully I didn't miss it. But I think over the next 2 to 3 years, that's going to become a very important sector. I'm in the Columbia River Gorge right now. And I'm about 15 miles west of a place called the Dalles, D-A-L-E-S in Oregon. There's a big dam in the Dalles. Okay, there used to be an aluminum plant here. They closed it down. But it's a major power generating hydroelectric dam. And if you drive through the gorge and you go north up to Goldendale, there's like windmills everywhere. Okay, so they make a lot of power in this little part of our state. Is it any surprise that one of Google's biggest server farms is here? No, it's not. one of Microsoft's biggest server farms is next to Grand Coulee Dam because they don't have to pay the cost of transmission to move the electricity.
Yeah.
That's why they said we're just putting the big machine right next to the outlet, as it were. Okay. So I think that there's a lot of different ways to play this. I think there's a big real estate play. I think there's a stock play. But I'm just kind of saying we talk about investments on this call. We talk about our future wealth. And now I think we're kind of shaking off the sugar high, this AI deal. And I'm looking around saying, okay, well, what other sort of tangent things can benefit from it? Look, in Western Washington, what do they say? Like for every one Boeing job, there's like 10 other like feeder jobs or whatever the number is. And I was working in Redmond and Bellevue in the early 90s when Microsoft was just kind of coming on. I'm looking around going, something's going on here. Right. And that became the tech corridor. And Microsoft was the hub. And if you ever listen to a Jeff Bezos interview, and I listened to several of them, the biggest reason he located in Seattle, he used to live in New York. He moved here. Why? Because Microsoft was here and he wanted to hire away talent. That's why they came here. So we can bitch about property taxes all day long, but let's look, and we will, but let's look at the world around us and go, you know, things are changing and that always creates new opportunities. So those are a couple of opportunities that I've decided to throw down on this week. And I'll let you know more as I learn more. That's part of my job. Because I want us to be rich and happy and not screw up on number of payments per year like I did today. Sorry about that. Okay. One more thing I'm going to tell you real quick. And this will be ready next week. And one of our members has already seen this, but I'm actually going to mention it to everybody. So I'm going to go to my personal website, which is joestill.io. And if you go to the books page, right now you can see this, okay? So this is the new Sunday blog book, and it is available on Amazon. I'm going to have my author copies, I hope in about a week. I've already ordered them. But if you want to go and check it out, if you click on the photo, this is like a little mini book. And these are the 20 blogs I put in there. They're really good. This is the best blog book I think I've put together so far. And then you can see examples of it for those of you that don't read it. But this is a great little book. It's cool. I'm very happy with the way it came out. But the other one that I'm almost happier about is this one here called The Sisters. And Mercedes has seen this. And so this is a book of photographs that I've shot of the Narrows Bridges. And I shot them all off my phone. But what's cool about it is it's a flip book, okay? So the top of it here is a spiral and it orients landscape. So you flip it from top to bottom instead of turn it from left to right. And every time you look at a page, like when you look at this page here, the spiral binding's right here, and you can read this little part here, which is a piece of history of the bridges, okay? And then here's another piece of history that you see when you turn to this photograph, or history with this photograph, and so forth. So the whole book is built this way. And what's been really interesting about showing people this book, I only have one copy I'm picking up tomorrow, picking up the first couple hundred author copies, is it's 7 inches by 5 inches. So it's really great little size. And I think that for people in the South Puget Sound and maybe the North, it's just an awesome little gift. And everybody reads the whole book. That was the weird thing. People are like, oh, I didn't know that. It's flip again. Like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, really? Oh, cool picture. Oh, they keep going. So I think the template that I've designed is really cool. And if you buy 2, you get 1 for free. So the cost is about $13 a piece. So if you want to help out, if that helps you, that's great. I'll have the shopping cart thing available by Saturday, I think. Oh, that's tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to work on it today. But we'll get that going. And not everybody's going to buy them, and that's fine. But they're great.
The shopping cart.
It'll be at that link, joestill.io/books. Yeah. And I don't do these to make a bunch of money. I do them, I have to pay my publisher and cover my cost. And they're Christmas presents and stuff like that, But I've already sold about 50 of the sisters books and about 20 of the blog books. And that's nice, So maybe next year I'll do one at Bellevue and then Michael Coe will buy one. Or I'll do one in color so Kelly will buy it because Kelly hates black and white. Anyway, okay. We can do a quick once around. Kelly, you got anything to offer today for the weekend?
Nope, not really.
Very active on Facebook, by the way. Your kitchen's lovely.
Oh my God. We literally got the stove installed Wednesday night at like 7 p.m. And then about 8 p.m. I started baking my pies. It was last minute, but I'm telling you what, it's flipping gorgeous.
I'm going to say something about this, and Kelly doesn't know that I'm going to say this, so hopefully this is not inappropriate. I don't think it is, or I wouldn't say it, but a part of this story about her kitchen, I think, is a very important story about where we are in life and the role that money plays, and do we work for it or does it work for us? Now, we all know that Kelly's father passed away, and that sucks, but it happens. And she got a little piece of whatever was left over. And I saw her a couple weeks ago. So I'm like, well, what kind of stove did you get? She goes, I got a Wolf. Oh, what kind of fridge? A Sub-Zero.
48-inch.
And she looks at her and she goes, God damn it, Joe Still. I'm old and I've got this money. I shouldn't say God damn it. That's fair. But she's like, I'm at this moment in life. I work a whole butt off. And I want to have this thing where I can still drink. Like, God bless you.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for all of us to remember about money.
Right.
Okay. And one of my little chapters in the book is, one is the master, one is the slave. Are you working for it? Is it working for you?
Right.
But I think, some of each, but, I'm not going to give my history, but I'll just tell you this real quick. My grandmother tragically died in a fire at age 85, I think she was. And the last thing that woman ever said to me was, I've wanted a Cadillac my whole life. We have the money, but my husband's too damn cheap. He dies a week later.
Oh, man.
I had forgotten that.
Wow.
I thought she should have got the damn Cadillac.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you find yourself in the good fortune to have a few extra bucks, you're like, you know what? I kind of want that thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'll leave you with one.
But I thought I'm turning 66 this month or December. And I'm like, I should pad my retirement with that money. But you know what? My kitchen was 34 years old. I had a Viking commercial range. I couldn't even get the door to close anymore without putting a hunk of cardboard in it. Everything was getting worn. And I thought, I'm just going to spend the money and live the rest of my life with this beautiful kitchen that I solved every problem with. And it's been tremendous.
Someday when you're dead and gone, your children will tell your appliances out of your kitchen and, the circle of life.
I know. Well, they'll just sell my house for $1 bazillion.
Exactly. Your house, it's paid off.
Yeah. Oh, it's been paid off forever. Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to leave you with one little story, then we'll go here. And this actually happened yesterday. So I got here a couple nights ago, and little grandson's 10. He's a ton of fun. He's got one of his little buddies over. And I used to be involved in cards and casinos, and I was a pit boss for a while, and that kind of stuff. And so I want to teach them how to play blackjack, right? So it's a counting game, so we kind of get them going, and they're okay. Do some hands, like, okay. Well, and then Nolan looks at me and goes, let's make it count. And he runs to the pantry and gets a bunch of Jolly Ranchers for betting for money, right? So we do that, all that kind of stuff. And then his dad jumps in and, he wants to deal the whole thing. So yesterday morning, his dad looks at me and he goes, you got any ones? I'm like, no, but I'll go to Hood River and I'll get some. I go, how many you want? He goes, we bring like 50 of them. I'm like, okay. Well, yesterday, of course, all the banks are closed. So once I clean out the first 2 gas stations, I go to Safeway and they said, we don't sell change because the banks aren't open. I'm like, okay. So I walk outside. I'm like, damn, Walmart's closed. Where am I going to go now? Turn to my right. Oh, the liquor store's open. So there. End up talking to this lady. And she was super sweet. But anyway, we kind of traded stories about our past. I'm not going to get all that, but we both had our, less than all-star moments. I'll put it that way. And she said, yeah, no, this is yesterday. And she goes, yeah, I'm going to work until about 4:00, but I've already cooked 3 turkeys this week and I'm going to take them down to the 3 homeless camps. Right? Now, right now in Hood River, it's like 42 degrees and rain. It's not a camping trip you really want to be on. Right? So I listened to all this and I opened my wallet up again and I said, here's $50. I'll help pay for dinner. She doesn't make a lot of money. And she just thought, what a blessing. So that's not about me. That's about, we all got $50, right? And this is that time of year we're moving into when, find someone who needs a little help and slip them a few.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I say that. And I did.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
if nothing else, it takes care of the dog. That's what pisses me off about those guys is, you want to be an asshole, but why does the dog have to suffer? Like you come here in the summertime, it's 100 degrees in the shade, and there's the guy at the freeway off-ramp with the dog. I'm like, the dog? Really, man? Sorry, I'm a dog guy. Okay. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for correcting my math. I'll try to pay attention to this time. You guys are awesome.